Hey guys, Dr. Shook here, and in this video what I want to talk about in this sauna session are two things that you can consider doing to help with your Hashimoto's and your hypothyroidism. So we know that the number one cause of hypothyroidism in the United States is Hashimoto's, and we know that Hashimoto's, when the autoimmune attack occurs, it creates these inflammatory chemicals that can disrupt the thyroid chemistry in a lot of different places. We know that the thyroid chemistry starts in the brain, ends in the cell, right? That's where the hormone goes into the cell. And there's a lot of steps along the way. If you're not familiar with that, you can check out the video that I did on the whiteboard where I explain brain to cell thyroid hormone physiology, how it works, how it breaks down. So we know that the autoimmune process creates these inflammatory chemicals called cytokines. These cytokines disrupt this physiology. So whenever we're looking at this autoimmune process, if I have 1 minute to tell someone like what might they consider doing, I would say we know that there's research that shows that going very strictly gluten-free can help a lot of people with Hashimoto's. So I would say go very strictly gluten-free for 4 weeks and see how you feel. See if it doesn't make a difference. And then if I had one other thing to say, I would say, consider, most people are deficient in selenium, and I would say consider a selenium supplement probably somewhere between 200 to 300 or maybe 400 micrograms. We know that can be, there's research that has shown that that's helped to lower antibodies. And I'll just say this, just as a side note. The antibody topic is very controversial. And what that means is, so whenever you get diagnosed with Hashimoto's or an autoimmune condition, you tend to have, what they're measuring are these antibodies. These are things that are made by the immune system that when they're at an elevated level, it's a sign that the immune system is attacking a structure. And if it's in your body and it's above what we have as an acceptable lab range, if it's lab high, then that's a sign that you have an autoimmune process where your immune system's attacking a tissue. Okay, so that does not always correlate with the severity of damage of your tissues or the status of your condition. And I just want to say this because it's really important, because I mentioned with selenium that they've seen the antibodies come down, but we know it has this protective effect in that it can help possibly decrease like hydrogen peroxide, which is a byproduct of the production of your thyroid hormone. So it's people that are I'm not a fan of iodine supplementation, and we know that supplementing with iodine tends to increase this hydrogen peroxide production. So you have to have a balance of the chemicals that are required for the production of your thyroid hormones. And selenium tends to be deficient in a lot of people, and there's a lot of people out there that are just taking iodine or that have gotten that as advice, and there can be an imbalance there where there's too much iodine, not enough selenium. It creates more hydrogen peroxide through the just metabolism and manufacturing of your thyroid hormone inside the thyroid cells, and that can set you up for autoimmunity. And we know that, for example, in population studies where they introduced iodine, like in China, Sri Lanka, Iran, there's several different population studies that whenever they added iodine to help people that had hypothyroidism, because everywhere but the US, that's the number one reason that people are hypothyroid, is because they don't have enough iodine. But in the US and industrialized countries like the UK, Australia, and other countries where they have iodine in their salts or they have fortification, that's not the case at all. Most people get, just from their food intake, they get much more iodine than they need. And so basically when they added iodine, they found that it helped the hypothyroidism, which was the number one cause, being low iodine, okay, in these other countries, but there was a sharp increase in Hashimoto's. So we know that it's a risk factor for triggering autoimmunity. We can kind of understand that the chemistry that's occurring behind it, and what the research suggests too is that it's probably, there's probably more cases there of Hashimoto's because of a selenium deficiency. And if they had selenium, it would offer some protective properties against this hydrogen peroxide, which is very, hydrogen peroxide, we know it's like the stuff you can use on wounds to clean wounds, and it's very inflammatory in your body if it's in your body. So at high levels, if you don't have the selenium to help reduce it, you don't have balance of these hormones or these minerals in your gland, then you can have these side effects that could promote autoimmunity. So I just wanted to say, like, as a caveat there, I'm not a big fan of iodine. There's research that shows that restricting it oftentimes helps people with Hashimoto's. I think if I had two things to say, it would be gluten-free. Consider taking selenium because a lot of people are deficient in selenium. and a lot of people are getting in the U.S. and industrialized countries way too much iodine. So those would be the things that I would say to do, if that was all I could say to help you, and that may help benefit your quality of life. But you always have to consider why. I mean, every video that I make, I want you guys to understand that you don't want to neglect why you're having the problems you're having, right? And the more information that you can get to help you figure out what's going on with you, the more specific you can be with any intervention, right? Any kind of support nutritionally. Otherwise, what we're doing is just doing guesswork. And sometimes that's perfectly fine. Sometimes we don't have financial means to get testing to investigate further, right? So listen, by all means, try dietary approaches, try the Selenium, try gluten-free, and try to help yourself. And you know, that's a great thing. If we can do that, fantastic. But if you can get testing, if you can get more information, you can be much more specific as to the interventions that you try, which will help you be more specific so that you can, you know, not waste time. So anyway, I hope this helps. I just wanted to share, really in a minute that's probably gone 6 or 7, was selenium is something to consider, and so is gluten-free very, very strictly. And the research supports both of those to be helpful with Hashimoto's. So I appreciate you guys. Hope you learned a lot today. And if you have any questions, just post them below. If you need anything, just let us know. But we really appreciate you coming here to learn more about your health. Thanks.